Welcome to Flash Editorials for March the 10th, 2012. I am Haywood Jablomi, your favorite newsreader. Flash Editorials is presented by www.dumpdc.com, Russell D. Longcore, owner and editor. Dump DC is the world leader in secessionist thought. We show the world that secession is the only hope for personal liberty and property rights on the planet. This has been a news-filled week. Let's get going. In the national news, Andrew Breitbart's revenge. On Wednesday night on the Sean Hannity show on Fox, the Obama video footage was shown. It shows Barry on the Harvard University campus, speaking to a crowd of students, asking the students to open up your hearts and minds to Professor Derek A. Bell. Who is that? Bell, now deceased, was the first tenured black professor at Harvard, and was a professor of law. He was the leading American proponent of the critical race theory, which basically holds that white people have systematically oppressed blacks and Latinos over centuries. His writings moved radical thought and led to the recent aberration of criminal law into hate speech and hate crimes. That's your president, folks. Derek Bell's philosophy was integral to Obama's Hope and Change and Fundamental Transformation of America, The Nation Part 2, on Super Tuesday. Romney won 6 of 9 contests. There was outrageous vote counting fraud, just like in every other caucus or primary. But our boy Ron Paul came in second in Virginia and North Dakota. One question that comes to my mind is, what is Ron Paul going to do with all the hearts and minds he has won during this pre-election circus? There are tens of thousands of civilians and soldiers that did not vote in the primaries and caucuses, yet have been brought over to what I call retro conservatism. Watch for an article about this topic at DumpDC next week. I have a suggestion. The Nation Part 3, the Federal Reserve now owns more United States Treasury bonds than China. Think about what a mega Ponzi scheme this is. The very entity that prints greenback dollars, creating money from paper and ink, prints up a few $100 billion and hands them to the U.S. Treasury to buy debt, thereby propping up the government. It's the highest form of counterfeiting ever witnessed in human history. The tragic part of this story is that the Fed cannot stop printing and buying. If other nations around the planet want to dump DC debt, the Fed will be forced to buy it so that the bond market does not crash. Get ready for hyperinflation, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming to a pocketbook near you. In international news, what would a Nobel Peace Prize winner do in the Middle East? Especially if he were president of the US and serious about avoiding a war with Iran? He would call a summit between himself, Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, Imam Khomeini and President Ahmadinejad of Iran in a neutral place like Switzerland. At that summit, he would broker a peace agreement. Part of that peace agreement would be to look Bibi in the eye and say, on the day that you make any military moves against Iran in any form, I will cancel all financial and military aid of every kind from the US to Israel, forever. Preemptive airstrikes are not defense, they are offense. If you still choose to make war against Iran, I will tear up all treaties with Israel and you are on your own. That is what a Peace Prize winner who actually wanted to live up to the prize would do. International Part 2, here is a quick quiz. Which nation has the third largest population of Jews on planet Earth? The US is number 1, Israel is number 2, give up. It's Iran. If Iran was such a threat to Israel, why do the Jews in Iran live in peace with no persecution? There has been a Jewish community in Iran since the 6th century, BC. Oh, by the way, if Israel starts raining bombs down on Iran, it will likely be killing its own Jewish people who live there. Would that be acceptable collateral damage? International Part 3, both Germany and Switzerland have begun the process of bringing their gold reserves back to their own soil. Where do you think they have been keeping their gold? In the basement of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. But who knows if the gold is actually still there? By the way, Switzerland has always had this legendary reputation for secrecy and security for money. Why the hell would they send their sovereign gold to America? This is going to get interesting. International Part 4. The Financial Times ran a story this week reporting that China has offered loans to the other BRIC nations, Brazil, Russia and India, denominated in the renminbi, China's money. This is a huge move away from the world reserve currency, the US dollar. The 4 BRIC nations represent the strongest economies on the planet, and almost 3 billion people out of the 7 billion on Earth. Dear readers, when the dollar is not reserve anymore, look for massive hyperinflation. We will make Zimbabwe's experience look like kindergarten. International Part 5. Vladimir Putin was elected president of Russia this week for a 6-year term. Expect little to change, since Putin was effectively running the country while he was prime minister. But he will preside over the fall of the United States. Ironic, isn't it? In 1989, the Soviet Union imploded from many of the same things infecting America right now, socialism being one of them. Planned economies and imperialism don't work on either side of the Atlantic. 23 years later, it's America's turn to implode. Only this time, we're going to show them how to do it right. Remember, the ruble wasn't the world reserve currency when the USSR tanked. They had it easy, and now a word from our sponsor: nearly everyone over 16 buys insurance. But is it a good idea to switch companies? Are any of the TV commercials by insurance companies telling the truth about switching? How often should you shop for new coverage and lower rates? Does loyalty to one particular company matter anymore? How do you find the best value in insurance? A new way to shop is online. But low price is not everything. Learn to think like an insurance adjuster, not like an insurance agent. To learn more and get free quotes online, go to www.insurancequotehq.com. That's www.insurancequotehq.com. In business news, we read today that certain executives of MF Global, currently in bankruptcy, are actually going to get bonuses this year. The court actually approved the bonuses, said to be in the millions. Remember that MF Global embezzled hundreds of millions from their own customers in wildly risky commodities investments. Men who should be in prison getting bonuses. This is what is happening in high finance in 2012. In economic news, the number of actual new unemployment claims under state programs, unadjusted, totaled 355,754 in the week ending March 3, a 31,000 claim increase over the week previous. The real unemployment rate, calculated by shadowstats.com, a highly reliable DC watchdog, is above 22% overall, and much higher in pockets of the country like Detroit. Looking for a job? North Dakota cannot find enough people to fill all the positions available. True unemployment in North Dakota is around 2%, which is statistically zero. The Economy Part 2, Dr. Gary North's articles can be found very regularly at lewrockwell.com. He has written a new book about money entitled Banks, Bubbles and Busts. If you go to teapartyeconomist.com, you can get a free copy. Do it. Do it now. Let's look at sports. Peyton Manning seems to have become addicted to adoration. Why else would a 37-year-old superstar NFL quarterback who has had 4 neck surgeries in the last 2 years want to continue to play in the NFL? Manning has been paid perhaps $100 million over his football career. Can you really imagine that his wife wants him to risk becoming a quadriplegic by playing again? Does anyone think that the opposing defensive squads would treat him softly so he doesn't get another neck injury? Apparently the owner of the Indianapolis Colts still has some common sense, and has placed Manning on waivers. Peyton, retire already. Don't become pathetic, or become Christopher Reeve. You are magic in front of a TV camera. Take a color commentator's job with a network for a couple million a year and relax. You'll never buy a drink in another bar for the rest of your life. Finally, in entertainment news, The Hunger Games movie opens March the 23rd at a theater near you. Based upon the books by Suzanne Collins, the movie is a loose update to the theme in the 1987 Schwarzenegger movie, Running Man. In a post-apocalyptic America, the nation goes buggy over the annual Hunger Games, in which only one contestant survives. The main character is a 16-year-old girl, Katniss Everdeen, who wins. That is a spoiler alert. I hear the film has a good anti-government message, so I'll be seeing it first week it's open. That's all for tonight. Thanks for watching. I am Haywood Jablomi. For all of us here at Dump DC, good night and good luck. Dump DC, 6 letters that can change history. Copyright 2012, Russell D. Longcore. Permission to reprint in whole or in part is gladly granted, provided full credit is given.